Welcome to another CPG webinar, a service of CPGmatters and the Shopper Technology Institute. I'm your host, John Karolewski. Thank you for joining us. Today we're talking about how big data on in-store shopper behavior can revolutionize grocery. Joining me is an all-star panel of experts. They are Natalie Michael, Shopper Insights Manager for Red Bull North America; David Haubert, former Director of Manufacturer Collaboration at Safeway; and Priya Babu, President of Client Solutions at VideoMining, a provider of in-store intelligence for shopper marketing. Now, this webinar is interactive, so along the way, if you have questions for the speakers, type them in the box in the lower left of your screen. We'll be posting some questions for you to answer as well. And finally, at the end of the program, please take a brief survey. Your input will help us present better webinars in the future. So without further ado, here is Natalie Michael, who has been with Red Bull for 2 years and now is the Shopper Insights Manager. Natalie?
Great. Thank you, John, and hello, everyone. So I will be here to take the perspective from a manufacturer. Granted, one of many manufacturers within the grocery and convenience store space, but I'll be providing a bit of background on the energy drinks category, and then I'll wrap it up with how important it is to tap into new technologies, such as in-store video capabilities, to better understand and therefore cater to our shopper base to continue to satisfy their shopping needs as well as to grow the category. So with that, let's take a quick dip into the energy drinks category. So what's the perception of who drinks energy drinks? Well, the category's identity goes beyond just the beverage itself, but identifies with a lifestyle for the action-packed crowd. So whether you're shredding waves, hucking kickers, partying till dawn, or skydiving from the edge of space, hopefully you guys saw that this past year, energy drinks are extreme, right? Sure, that is the perception, but who are the real consumers of energy drinks? Well, our data tells us that it's not only guys. Sure, guys are definitely the majority, but a solid 36% of our user base are women. Another reality is that energy drinks have a very racially diverse fan base. Our consumers over-index across the Hispanic, African American, and Asian populations. A lot of this is driven by Gen Y, aka millennials, who we know as the ultimate melting pot generation, and we do know they are also avid energy drinkers. And we can see that here. So Gen Y makes up the majority of the energy drinking user base at 53%, and you can see that is a strong index of 181. Although we do have a fair representation of older generations and the power walking set, as you can see here in the bottom right. So we have a poll.
Yes, we
John,
have a poll question.
would you like to run the poll?
Absolutely. Our first poll question: what percentage of energy drinks are consumed within 1 hour of purchase? And our choices are 20%, 45%, 75%, or 90%. So make a choice and click submit, and we'll be on our way.
I feel like we need the Jeopardy theme song to play.
Right.
Okay, so we have about 88 responses coming in here. I'll go to the results, drum roll. Here we go, 75%, and that is correct. So we can see that a significant majority of immediate consumption is within energy drinks. So energy drinkers, 75% of the time, consume their beverage within 1 hour of purchase. So that implies that shoppers of energy drinks are very much so on a mission, and they're being driven by a need for energy. Thank you for participating in that. So let's get back into a bit of Gen Y. So we talked about the percent of the energy drink user base by generation, but here on the flip side, we can see what percent of each generation drinks energy drinks. So again, Generation Y, aka the millennials, pops out as the group that is most engaged with energy. And this is an important point to note, since for marketers, Gen Y is the sweet spot now at the key 18 to 34 demographic. But for retailers, Gen Y is becoming the future sweet spot in store as they grow up into becoming that primary household shopper. So it's really important to capture their loyalty now as they establish their shopping habits and patterns. So speaking from a category standpoint, energy has seen tremendous growth over the past 5 years, and this trajectory is expected to continue as the category is projected by Mintel to contribute the most absolute dollar growth to the beverage sector over the next 5 years. And what's going to fuel this growth in energy? Well, for one, improved penetration. The energy drink consumer base only has about 18% consumer penetration, so there is a lot of room to grow here. Younger populations entering the category, as well as the growth and engagement from Hispanic populations are going to be the major contributors here. The second factor is the expanding usage occasions. Usage occasions within energy are evolving, where consumers are using energy drinks as an enabler while gaming or at concerts or socializing versus as a crutch while driving or studying, for example. And consumers aren't just drinking energy drinks at bars late night. They're seeking energy drinks across all day parts and days of the week. And then lastly, increased innovation will fuel growth within energy drinks. So whether lower calorie options or new flavors, we'll be tapping more into evolving consumer desires. So that's a quick rundown of the energy drinks category. So we've learned a lot about the energy category, the growth trajectories, the evolving and growing shopper base, expanding usage occasions, etc. But how do we ensure we capitalize on and maintain these trends? Well, we need to know who our shoppers are and how they act in stores. Scan data is great to get at a very high-level view of this, but using in-store video insights, we can develop a better understanding of their navigation, trip missions, location of purchase, in order to build more effective sales programs to ease, not impede, their shopping trip. One example of how we've done this using in-store video technology is by viewing energy drinkers' shopping patterns in-store, which has allowed us to uncover the tendency for our shoppers to make quick trip missions. Time spent in-store is generally much shorter for the energy shopper than your average shopper. And if we remember from that instant poll that 75% of energy drinks are consumed within 1 hour of purchase, we know that energy drinkers are on a mission, and therefore we need to facilitate their desire for that quick shopping trip. So one way to do this is identifying the optimal placements for energy drinks in the store that add the most convenience to our shoppers' trips. So again, this type of video technology adds much more flavor to shopper research than our scan or panel data can provide. And so from the manufacturer perspective, this is super important for us to capitalize on the strengths and trends within our category.
Natalie, we have a question that just came in, Natalie. One of the questions from the audience, you mentioned identifying the optimal placements in store. What are some examples of these optimal placements in grocery stores?
Yeah, sure. Really, there are three primary zones within a grocery store which energy drinks or even beverage in general can be located. So that includes center store or the warm shelf. Secondly, the perimeter open-air coolers. And then at the front end in the check lane coolers. So the aim here is to identify how shoppers using the video technology engage with each of these primary zones so that we can optimize the configuration of our category within each zone. So that's it for me, unless there are any other questions. Otherwise, I'll kick it back over to John.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. Our next speaker is David Haubert, who is a consultant and formerly was the Director of Manufacturer Collaboration at Safeway. Now, David has 20 years of experience helping retailers and manufacturers in the areas of sales, brand management, shopper marketing, and strategy development for companies such as Nestle, PepsiCo, Safeway, and VideoMining. He's also a partner at the Partnering Group, which specializes in shopper marketing, category leadership, and corporate planning. David?
Thanks, John. And thank you, Natalie, for your overview of the energy drink category and Red Bull's marketing activities and how you were able to use in-store video insights to improve your business. I'm going to shift gears right now and describe the retailer's perspective, and in particular, how we focus on the in-store shopping experience. The retailer's job, as we know, is to ensure that the right products are in the right place at the right time and at the right price, all in ways that delights the shopper and maximizes their basket. And so we look for ways to help people shop as much of the store as possible and therefore consider buying as many different categories as possible. If we do our job well, the shopper is able to efficiently accomplish their shopping mission in as little time as possible. We recognize that shoppers spend not only valuable dollars with us, but also their valuable time. Let's move to next slide, which is an overview, an overhead view of a typical grocery store. As you can see, it's pretty complex with aisles, end caps, lobby displays, side kicks, side stacks, and on and on. A typical grocery store houses anywhere from 35 to 45,000 SKUs. And for the most part, it hasn't changed much in 50 years. We make thousands of decisions every week on where to place product in store, what to display, how much to display, and so on. Let's move to the next slide. Today, we're going to talk about one simple truth about retailing. This is an undisputed and irrefutable fact. It's really quite simple. If you don't pass by a product, then you simply won't see it, and if you don't see it, you simply cannot buy it. This describes the in-store path to purchase. Certainly, shoppers are on a mission, and that mission heavily influences their in-store path. But leading retailers today are partnering with manufacturers, like we just heard from Red Bull, and using video technology to measure and optimize the in-store path to purchase and to maximize the shopping basket. So let me ask the audience a fun question. This is the next poll question. If you think about the average shopping trip, how much time do you think is spent navigating around the store, getting from category to category? Go ahead and enter your responses now. Of an average shopping trip, how much time is spent navigating around the store versus other parts of the shopping trip? Responses quickly rolling in. This is great. I think we're getting there towards about everybody having responded. It looks like a pretty dead heat here between the second, third, and fourth choice. Are we almost in? We're at 100. Pretty close here. And I'm going to call it and actually say that it's 21% of the time is actually spent navigating. It's B. We didn't get that one, but I'll explain a little bit why. Later you'll see that the checkout process is also a significant amount of time. And if you add checkout with navigation time, you'll find that only about 50% is left over for deliberating over products and making the product selection. So it looks like the audience came pretty close to that with 50 plus. So about 21% navigating. You'll find a little bit more than that at checkout, and about 50% plus left over for product selection.
David, we have a quick question, David. Before we go on, a quick question from the audience. How did you get the information for this navigation time? How do you collect the information?
Well, that is a wonderful question, and in fact, we're going to talk about exactly how the video data is collected and determined, how people are navigating through the store and when they're stopped shopping. And the simple answer is, if your cart is moving and you're walking about the store, that's navigation time. if you as a person are stopped in front of a product and you're deliberating and shopping, that's shop time. And then if you're at the checkout, you're checking out. And so we'll explain how video capabilities are used to determine each of those. Great question. So as we move on, the in-store shopper behavior that we're talking about as a retailer, we've never had insight into where people travel. We've always had insight into what people buy, but not where they shop throughout the store. And so what video technology allows us to do is understand where people shop, where people stop, and through T-log data at the checkout, we can find exactly what they buy. But you'll want to know questions like how many people never even pass my category, or how many people do pass my category. Whether they pass the category, do they stop and shop? And if they do stop and shop, do they buy or not? Let's take a minute to give you a quick snapshot of a video of what this looks like. This is a video of a typical grocery aisle. It includes the bread category to the top and the yogurt category to the bottom. We're going to play the video now and watch how people shop. This is a speeded up video, so you'll see people moving. Stand in front of the category, their moment of truth. That was one aisle for 1 minute. This is an overview of an entire store, all aisles, and if we track each person's path to purchase over time, let's see what happens when we capture everybody's shop to many, many different shopping missions, many different shopping paths to purchase, all collected systematically through the use of video technology and patented technology to capture people's path to purchase from the time they enter the store to the time they check out, and then processing it into the metrics that we're about to talk about. So let's move to slide 22.
Yeah, before you move on, David, we have 3 questions that came in which regarding your recent slides. 1, what is the average time in store? 2, and how long does it take to process the data and act upon it?
Yes. So the average shop time per store is very short. It's a confidential number that you'll have to ask us offline. We don't like to give that out right now, but it's much shorter than you would think. And the time to process data from the time it's collected in store is about 1 week till we can convert it into actual data. And then depending on what we want to do with that data, it may take 2 to 4 weeks to get it out the door in the form of a report.
Okay, and more follow-ups. How do you get shoppers permission to record them? And another question, do you mean the video technology can detect a person and track that person's trip?
So indeed, a person will be, their path to purchase will begin at the time they enter the store. The cameras are stitched together and linked so that their entire path to purchase is indeed tracked throughout the store all the way through to checkout, camera-to-camera tracking, if you will. There is absolutely no personal identification, so we can't say that it's John Smith or Bob Smith, but we do know that it's a male, and we do know their rough demographics, rough age, and rough ethnicity. and we certainly know their gender, but no personal identification on a one-to-one basis until checkout, where we can confirm their loyalty card data, loyalty card identity, for example, if there's a loyalty card retailer. And as far as permission to video, every store is noted with a placard that when you walk in, the camera is surveilled. The store is surveilled by cameras, not unlike theft prevention cameras capturing activities of shoppers in every store in America these days. There's nothing to worry about identification or identity issues there. There's no permission needed and no worries of divulging the identity of any individual.
And one final question. Can you identify information like the average number of items added to the basket?
Yes. So the video we just saw can be slowed down, and analytic observers would be able to then count and really get into detail of the moment of truth, what an individual shopper is doing, and we can get very detailed, zoomed-in information on what people are doing so we can understand the moment of truth actions of each shopper. And also, when that shopper checks out, we can understand, we timestamp the checkout, and we match up with that transaction data so we know at the end exactly what's in the basket.
Okay, we have more questions, but we'll have to save those for the end of the program as time allows. So, David, you can proceed.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, John. And as I've described, we've created a vast amount of metrics, and the words big data don't even begin to describe the terabytes and the mega terabytes of data that we're collecting here. And our industry is built on metrics. We have POS data to measure purchase behavior. We have planograms that help measure shelf productivity. We have loyalty cards that track people's purchase over time, and now we've built metrics to provide visibility to in-store path to purchase. And this is the top of the path to purchase metrics here, the funnel of as people walk in the store, how many people then go by your category or down your aisle is the next level. The level below that is how many people stop to shop, and then how many people buy. And so we're talking about path to purchase metrics. We're talking about moment of truth. How long do people stop to shop? How long do they navigate within the category back and forth among the bread aisle, for example, or from one end of the yogurt aisle to the other? And then if they're standing in front of a set of products, how much time does it take them to decide? And then lastly, some productivity metrics around, dollars per traffic, dollars per shopper, and dollars per minute. As I mentioned earlier, they're spending not only their dollars, but their time, and the productivity of their time is very important. If we can get shoppers through the store, through more of the store, and exposed to more products within the store, we can grow their basket. And so from a retailer's perspective, we're wanting to measure and evaluate the path to purchase, the moment of truth, and shopper-centric productivity metrics around dollars per shopper, per traffic, and per minute. And that concludes the retailer's perspective of the ways to use video capabilities to measure in-store activity and in-store shopper behavior.
Thank you, David. That was excellent. Our next speaker is Priya Babu, who leads the Client Solutions team at VideoMining. She has more than 15 years of experience in marketing research, brand management, and business development in the consumer packaged goods industry. At VideoMining, she plays a key role in team building, growing and maintaining relationships with CPG customers, and consulting. Priya?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Natalie and David as well, for sharing your perspectives. Before we actually go to this current slide, I want to take a pause and share some thoughts on what is big data? And when we all talk about big data, it's very important to make sense out of the data. Otherwise, it's not going to be useful. So what I'm going to be doing today in this time is share some metrics and more importantly, their implications from the last phase of the grocery MegaStudy. In the interest of time, I will be sharing only a few metrics out of the many, many metrics that we had quantified, especially from a total store and center store and few of the departments within center store perspective, without going into a lot of detail on displays and front end, which obviously make up a key part of the store as well. So let's move on. The insights that we are going to be sharing today are based on the analysis of roughly 2.5 million shopping trips across multiple layouts in some of the leading grocery retailers that are listed below. So what we're doing is basically using the big data for in-store behavior analytics to help optimize grocery. And starting at center store, we all know that 72% of total store sales and 77% of profit comes from center store. But shoppers, if you look at shoppers that are walking into the store and spending time, they are only spending about 18% of their time, roughly 2 minutes, in center store. So it makes you wonder if only we could increase that shopper engagement in center store, is there a possibility to increase productivity and thereby total store profits? Since some of you asked a lot about time in store, so what's the average time being spent in store, even though David said it's confidential information, we decided to add this information on time in store, really real time. So that's going to be my next slide, actually. So as you can see, the total time spent in store is 12 minutes and 56 seconds, to be very precise. Gone are the days, actually, when we used to talk about shoppers and them spending 30 to 60 minutes in the store. Today, if you look at an average shopper, he or she spends only about 13 minutes in store, which means that a significant portion of the shoppers are on quick trips. And roughly 50% of the 13 minutes or 12 minutes and 56 seconds that is spent in the store is actually spent in navigating and checking out, the actual process of checking out. So if you look at center store, actually, the time spent shopping center store is roughly half that of the perimeter shopping. So whatever we can do as retailers and manufacturers to simplify the decision process can actually help in influencing shoppers in a short period of time. So what are we going to do about this? Something to think about as we really look at the store, look at our brands, look at our categories, and try to think of the short time that customers are spending and think about ways to simplify the decision process when shoppers walk into the store and walk into your category or shop your category. So with that, let's look at some high-level conclusions from the grocery MegaStudy to help guide our thought process. So this might be a little surprising or even shocking to some of us. The center store has high shopper leakage. It is not that customers are not showing interest, but they are actually engaging with the categories. But what happens after they engage with the categories is a big surprise to a lot of us. 26% of customers who shop a typical center store category don't buy from the category. And that's a key piece of information that we all should be thinking about and planning about what to do and how we can solve this problem. The next key insight that I wanted to share is if you take that shopper leakage and take it down to some of the key departments within center store, like beauty and baby, 70% of the shoppers are walking away without making a purchase. So when we rethink our strategies, we need to be rethinking the marketing and merchandising strategies for these departments to make it more appealing. And if you look at these departments, actually some of these departments like pet and beauty, from a retail space point of view, some of them, especially pet and beauty, are generating very low revenue per foot. So we need to be thinking about what can we do to turn these departments around. Interestingly, when we benchmarked this information across multiple retailers that participated in the panel, we were able to quantify the relative size of the opportunity. And for some retailers, it was really, really big. So something to think about and really, really focus on when we plan to revisit our strategies and go to the whiteboards to start revising them. So in order to rewrite the center store story, we have to revisit our priorities and refine them so we can increase shopper engagement and thereby purchases. This actually requires, first of all, in understanding the path to purchase. So when we talk about path to purchase, it is path to purchase in the store. Where are the hot spots? Where are the cold spots? How are people navigating the store? Basically, in a sense, what do they do when they walk into the store and shop multiple categories? So what you're seeing here is actually a traffic map, which shows the volume of people in different parts of the store. As you can see, the perimeter is actually getting a lot of traffic. But the center store, some of the aisles are extremely cold, whereas others are getting some amount of traffic. And if you look at the same store from a standpoint of shopper engagement, which is basically what areas of the store are getting more shoppers, it's kind of pretty much the same story as you see for the traffic map with a lesser intensity, so to speak. With only some center store aisles getting decent number of shoppers, especially the ones, like, cereal and, some of the popular categories, but some of the other center store aisles are really cold. Now let's actually look at this information in a more quantitative manner. So for every 100 people that walk into the store, 83 pass by center store. And when we talk about center store traffic, this could include customers who are using center store for a milk run, to go to the milk aisle, or it could also include customers, those who walk into the center store to shop or consider the center store categories. But the good news is they do stop. So 79 out of the 83 are actually stopping and shopping a center store category. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John for an instant poll, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the key data points. John?
Okay, our next poll is, on average, how many shoppers walk or purchase in a center store category? 25%, 40%, 50%, more than 50%. Walk away, rather. And the results are coming in. Okay, I think, Priya, we have the tally.
Okay. I think it's an interesting mix. So we have quite a bit of you that thought 40% of the shoppers walk away without making a purchase. That's the highest response that we have received. It's pretty close. It's 55% actually. 55% of shoppers shop a center store category but walk away without making a purchase. So, considering that the number, it's pretty significant. And if you actually look at it, from a total store perspective, right? Like, out of the 79 that shop, 48 are actually making a purchase. This is like, they could make any, they could buy at least one of the categories within a store. And what we're seeing is basically, the remaining 31% of customers shop but do not buy from center store. What we talked about, 55%, was for a typical center store category, and this, if you look at it from a total center store perspective. At the end of the day, if you look at the opportunity, if you look at the leakage, it's mind-boggling. So we all need to be collectively thinking about how can we really close the gap and influence these shoppers and push them to make a purchase. So one of the most important things that came out of the MegaStudy is shopper leakage, which is actually different from the traditional channel or competitive leakage that we are all aware of. So shopper leakage, again, just so we are all on the same page, is based on someone that shops a particular category but walks away without making a purchase. Now, let's actually take that shopper leakage a little further and take it down to a department level or even a category level. So what we did in the MegaStudy is we quantified this leakage for every single category across the 21 departments that we have listed here. And we not only quantified the leakage, but also quantified other metrics, other shopper metrics along with it. And what I'm going to be doing in the next few minutes is actually illustrate and talk about some of these metrics at the department level. So here, what you're seeing is obviously a list of departments, and what you're seeing is buyers and non-buyers. So let's look at the four key departments: total alcoholic beverages, paper products, baby care, and pet care. If you take tab, total alcoholic beverages, 14 out of the 100 store customers shop the department, but only 9 buy, and the remaining 5 walk away without making a purchase. If you actually take the same look and look at it from the perspective of baby care, 6 out of 100 shopped the department, but 5 walked away without making a purchase, which is extremely important. So we are losing a lot more shoppers than buyers for the department for baby. So getting to the bottom of the leakage is extremely, extremely critical. And if we associate the money we are leaving on the table for these departments, the potential is very, very high. So if you look at total alcoholic beverages, it's one of the highest performing departments in center store. It still has high growth opportunity. As you could see that, the department is generating about $125, but it is losing about $74 for every 100 people that's walking into the store. That's a lot of money that's left on the table. And if you look at baby at the bottom of the chart here, baby is losing more money than it is making. So at the end of the day, if we get this understanding for all departments, for all categories, we would know where the hidden opportunities are. Now, let's actually go a little deeper. Let's look at the moment of truth, which is actually the decision process in the same set of departments that we saw the path to purchase for, before a decision to buy or not buy was made. And if you look at this chart here, it shows shopping and navigation time. Shopping time is actually the amount of time spent considering or engaging with products, while navigation time is actually the time spent searching for products, trying to locate the product of interest. As you can see, time spent navigating or searching for products, it varies across departments, and it varies based on shelf length and variety. So in order to reduce navigational complexity, what are some of the techniques that we could use? Maybe signage, maybe clear organization of the category, maybe by product types, or typeset or vendor set, whatever is more applicable for the category. But anything that we can do to reduce navigational complexity will actually improve the quality of time spent considering or engaging with the products. And obviously, this is at a very, very high level, but it becomes even more powerful when you look at categories and benchmark them across all of the categories in the store. So moving on, if you look at shopper time, and what we are seeing here is the total time in department. So combining both shopping as well as navigation time in a department. And the line that you're seeing here is the shopper conversion. So basically, one question that we always get is long shopping time good or bad? And based on what we are seeing in this chart, it looks like not everywhere, or for not all of the departments, long shopping time is going to lead to high conversion. As you can see, for books and magazines, it has one of the highest or the longest shopping times, but the conversion rate is, it's one of the lowest compared to all of the departments. So the overall goal for us as retailers and manufacturers should be to actually do everything possible to help shoppers spend quality time considering the products, so they can actually locate the products much more easily and get it into the consideration set as opposed to trying to locate the products of interest to them. So moving on, in the interest of time, if we go to the third set of metrics, understanding the shopper-centric productivity. This is, again, among the many, many metrics that we have quantified, but from a shopper-centric perspective. As David mentioned in his discussion earlier, we need to look at productivity from a shopper-centric perspective. It's very important to get shopper into the mix because it's all about how shoppers are able to make a decision and whether they're able to make the decision in a relatively short period of time or not. So this chart again is showing total time in the department versus time efficiency. Time is an important commodity, right? And what this chart is telling us is how effective each of the department is in converting time into dollars. Without getting into a lot of detail on the numbers and getting deeper into the metrics, understanding time efficiency is extremely, extremely critical, especially for all of the categories in the store, so we can identify which categories and which departments are good candidates for SKU optimization or SKU rationalization. So in the end, if you look at categories and if you look at products, it's all about productivity of space. A combination of all of the factors we discussed earlier contributes to productivity. So whether it is the actual space in the aisle or if it is additional displays, it's all about overall space allocation and optimizing it, right? So with this, what I'm going to do is actually turn it over to David so he can tie up all of these metrics and put it in his perspective, a retailer perspective, and give us more insights on how the retailer does it. David?
Thanks, Priya. If we could move on to the next slide. The retailer's perspective is benchmarking key metrics from category to category, digging deep into how we can improve the metrics for each category, brainstorming ideas and hypotheses, testing potential changes, and then tracking over time. We know that in store we move at the speed of retail, and testing changes in a limited number of stores and quickly evaluating the effect on shopper behavior and then rolling across the chain those changes that make the most difference is a competitive advantage. So we're looking at how can retailers track the effects of big promotions and displays, how people shop seasonally from one season to another, and then tracking shopper trends over time. This is an example of a typical potential scorecard that a retailer would use to track department against department, and then tracking the metrics we discussed earlier: traffic, shop time, whether people buy, and then what leakage occurs from people shopping and not buying. Every retailer needs to know, where do people spend time but walk away without making a purchase? We know that that's low-hanging fruit. Let's move on to the next slide and pass it back over to Natalie.
Thanks, David. So linking back to the manufacturer's perspective here, the need is there and has been there to better understand our shoppers' engagement with our category in store by adding new technology like video technology to our arsenal of shopper insights. So revisiting what we talked about at the beginning of this call about the evolving beverage and energy drinks landscape, the number of in-store locations in which beverages are available to a shopper to pick up add to the complexity here. And furthermore, we know that shopper behaviors differ from person to person as well as from one trip to the next. So all of these factors combine into the need for us to understand the decisions our shoppers are making when they're selecting their beverage of choice and how we can ease their in-store experience. And from Priya's slides, it actually looked like for non-alcoholic beverage, the split between navigating and shopping time was about 50-50. So it's especially important for us, and especially with energy drinks, to minimize the complexity here, because ultimately our aim is to facilitate our shoppers' desire for a quick trip. So again, using video technology, we're able to map where and how our shoppers are moving throughout the store, looking at those heat maps, and therefore we can expand what we know about their behaviors and follow them as they navigate their purchase decisions. And then, of course, these insights we can turn into programs and initiatives to refine our strategies within store and then track any tests that we run or changes that we make over time. So it's really a great way to bring new kind of data to light and to life, to view shopper interactions with our category and focus our efforts on the locations that make the most impact and make the most difference. And the next phase of VideoMining's MegaStudy will be even bigger. And with that, I will kick it over to Priya.
Thank you, Natalie. And yes, the next phase of MegaStudy is going to be 4 times bigger, where we will not only address many aspects of the store across the retailers that are listed on the right, but we are working to add many more retailers into the mix, so we get a better understanding of different layouts, different shopper mindsets, and so on and so forth. But from an analysis standpoint, the 4 times bigger number is going to be actually 10 million shoppers. So all the insights are even more robust and even more accurate in helping us guide through the refinement process of shaping up the marketing and merchandising strategies to make it easy for the shoppers as they walk into the store and consider the categories and make a purchase decision. With that, I'll turn it over to John.
Well, the good news is that we are on schedule, and the better news is we have a lot of interesting questions that came in from our audience, and here's the first one. When looking at the traffic heat map, do you single out end caps and displays versus aisles? Priya, that's probably for you.
Yeah, so the traffic map, what we've done here, the one that we just saw in the slide, it actually looks at all elements of the store. But we do have the ability to, single out any particular area of the store that we don't want to look at or just want to look at and focus on a particular store. So the long answer is yes, we can, look at just a specific area of the store or focus on the total store.
Okay, Natalie, for you, specifically, how was video data used for Red Bull?
Yeah, sure. So we're really using this technology right now for identifying where in store our shoppers are picking up their drinks. So we see by scan data that they're buying energy drinks, but we don't know from which location in store they're buying it. So if we go back to that fact that 2/3 of our shoppers are consuming the energy drink within an hour, they're clearly on a mission, or they're clearly being driven by impulse. And we know that if somebody's drinking an energy drink, they're going to want it cold. So in this instance, we're able to identify the engagement with our from our shoppers on those cold locations in store. And so that way we can tailor our strategies in store on having energy drinks available in key configurations in those cold areas in store.
Okay, Priya, how does video mining integrate its data with other forms of data?
The default integration is with point-of-sale data from retailers, so we can actually provide a holistic picture, a complete picture of how shopper behaves in front of a category or in the store and tie it back to their purchases. But there are also other sources of data that we frequently integrate with, such as online surveys, exit interviews. So basically, kind of trying to bring in the why behind the buy or not buy decisions, and providing a more complete picture, a 360-degree view of what's happening in the store, what's in the basket, and what do they think about some of the purchases.
Okay, another question. We know that human detection by camera is a brand new technology. Even a big name like Google is still working to improve the accuracy of detection. What is the accuracy of video technology of shoppers by video mining?
Yeah, it's fairly accurate. In fact, we have tested some vendors for the government, etc. But bottom line is, it's from a behavior standpoint, it's very accurate, 90% plus. We've done a lot of tests to improve the algorithms, etc. But the bottom line is, the accuracy is over 90%.
Okay. Another question. How much influence does the manufacturer have with the retailer to position products or display?
As long as we're able to support or prove or disprove a decision based on solid facts, we've seen more openness among retailers to the data. And obviously, we can test in a few retailers, we can take the information, which will provide us a good guideline, but, taking that information, refining it, and testing it again in the same retailer will make it even more worthwhile, so the retailers are more open to understanding their shoppers and looking at their shopper data from their stores before they make a decision. But bottom line, we've seen a lot of openness among retailers. In fact, they're willing to work more closely with manufacturers on testing different strategies and collectively working together to improve the shopping experience.
Okay. You may have answered this in your presentation, Priya, but what retailers allow video research, and do retailers as well as brands get the data? What retailers? The question is actually in the slide that I just brought up on the presentation. This is just for the grocery, but there are a lot more retailers in other channels that are working with us and working more closely with video technology to address shopper needs. Retailers are, in terms of what data retailers get, maybe that's a question that we can take offline. But from a brand level, we can go down to any level of data of interest, be it a category or a brand or a pack size. But in terms of what results or what information retailers get and what information the brands get, we can probably take that offline. Okay. Here's another question that you perhaps can take offline. Is there room for other partners in your tests? Absolutely, and we would love to have a discussion. So definitely, we'll provide contact information for Priya shortly. Let's see now. One more. Do you do specific studies pertaining directly to the alcoholic beverage category?
Yes, actually, we look at all of the 200-plus categories in the store, so definitely alcoholic beverage category is one among them that we work on.
Okay. Last question. Specifically, how was video data used for Red Bull?
Yeah, I mean, it's really about identifying the key in-store locations as well as understanding how the energy drink shopper differs from the average grocery store shopper. So, I mean, without giving anything confidential away, we've been able to identify what some of the key configurations in store between the main zones in which energy drinks can be found are, as well as an understanding that energy drink shoppers typically shop a grocery store more quickly than the average shopper, so that jives with what we know about our shoppers being on a mission and wanting a quick trip.
Okay, excellent. Well, we are actually out of time. So for more information about video mining, you can call Priya Babu at 1-800-898-9950 or email her at pbabu, that's B-A-B-O-O, at videomining.com. Finally, please take a minute to complete the post-webinar survey on your screen as soon as you log out of this webinar. If you still have additional questions or if we didn't get to yours, you can enter them in the comments box in the post-webinar survey, and we will get back to you. Finally, for more information about CPG Matters, visit cpgmatters.com and the Shopper Technology Institute, shoppertech.org, where you can sign up for our twice-monthly newsletter. Until the next time, this is John Karolewski signing off for CPG Matters, the Shopper Technology Institute, and our speakers today. Thank you.